Hi and welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm Melody Zacharias, the Microsoft Solutions Manager, and
I'm Andrew Silliphant, the Principal Solutions Manager for Databases.
Today we're going to talk about application owners and what's important to them for databases. We're going to start with problems and solutions. So first off, data growth. Data is growing at an enormous rate. You've maybe heard the term data gravity. That's when data gets so large that it has its own gravity. It's growing and growing. It gets heavy. It pulls things down, including your business. That's not good for application owners. So, for example, next year alone, they're expecting data to grow to, you're not going to believe this, 118 zettabytes. That's a huge number. Now that can bring your business down if you're not expecting it or you don't have a way to deal with that. But I'm sure, Andrew, you can explain to us what Pure Storage can do about that.
Pure Storage does some really interesting things. Let's take our FlashBlade and FlashArray product lines. Starting with FlashArray, everything within FlashArray is both compressed and deduped. If you write data to it, it is going to try and reduce your database data down to the smallest unique value it can. And if you're using FlashBlade, everything you write to FlashBlade is compressed. Now, it's really important that when you're doing compression and dedupe, there are no costs with regards to performance. One of the really nice things about FlashBlade and FlashArray is that all of our compression and dedupe is in line. Plus, we also try to preserve your performance to ensure that your business application isn't impacted by this cost and capacity savings measure.
Now that you've got that compressed and deduped, but you're adding it onto the data that you've already had. So it may have been only 118 zettabytes, but you've got to now add that to what you already had and move it around. So we know that business isn't stagnant. We're already got things that we need to do. We've got ETLs, ELTs, we've got test data, we've got recovery and DR situations. We're moving data around all the time, whether we're moving it to the cloud or for analytics, all sorts of scenarios. How are we going to move that data without it taking hours and hours for our application owners? How are we going to handle that, Andrew?
We are going to do that using the data services within FlashBlade and FlashArray. Let's focus on FlashArray. FlashArray has the ability to create volume snapshots. A volume snapshot is just a pointer to data at a point in time. It doesn't need to consume a lot more space than is necessary. All that's going to happen is I'm going to create a snapshot of an already deduplicated and thin provision volume. What this then means is I'm not just doubling up my data. I'm just taking it, putting it there and saying, there's a recovery point or something I can move around. However, snapshots are great. They can be moved around using mobility, such as asynchronous replication. We also have a cloud block store offering, which is the exact same software that lives in on-premises FlashArray, which then allows me to have mobility between my on-prem and cloud systems, allowing me to segregate sections of my business that could require the performance and capabilities of on-prem systems or the flexibility of cloud systems, which is more on demand. This then lets me take my business and segregate it into production and test and dev things or ETL style things.
Now we need to remember with all of that data, we have to keep it secure. We want to keep it secure for your customers because last year alone, we had 1,800 plus data breaches. It's important to remember that our customers are expecting us to keep their data secure. If we don't keep that data secure for them, they're not going to trust us. Security is super important. So, Andrew, how are we going to keep customers' data secure?
That's a really interesting question because there are so many ways we could potentially do this. So, to get started, let's focus on FlashArray and FlashBlade. Whenever you're writing data to FlashArray and FlashBlade, regardless of whatever's happening up above, it is always encrypted. It is also deduplicated and compressed. Without it, FlashArray, it would be really, really hard to rehydrate that data if you were just staring at blocks on a disk. But it's incredibly important to also think about how the data services take advantage of this. So if we think about volume snapshots, Volume snapshots are immutable. You cannot change them once they are created. Now that's really interesting because if I'm moving snapshots all around, no one's going to be able to do anything to them until they are turned into a volume or restored over an existing volume. Around the eradication of volume snapshots.
So many things are important, but these days, even more important, or at least as important, is for companies is becoming environmental, social, and governance. That's what this ESG stands for. It's a common acronym that's coming into play for a lot of companies because we're all worried about the environment. And often that goes along with compliance, depending on the country that you're in, or for auditing purposes. And that goes towards energy situations, savings, or just reusability and recyclability. So that can sometimes save you money, or it can just be an audit requirement depending on the country that you're in. And there are requirements for that for some countries in their yearly goals. So we want to help you with that as well. And how does Pure Storage help us with this, Andrew?
Pure Storage is helping us in a very specific way. All of our arrays, both FlashArray and FlashBlade, are engineered to be non-disruptive upgrades. This also means that every single component within FlashBlade and FlashArray is replaceable. So if a customer has a failure, we're not going to just ship you out a whole new array and throw away the faulty array components. We are only going to replace the minimal thing that needs to be fixed, thus reducing overall waste. This is really important because as customers get many, many systems, they're also going to have a lot of wastage over the years as failures occur and issues happen. But something even more important is that the way in which we've engineered our arrays and our products is to ensure that only minimal footprints are taken. So if you are currently in possession of a rack of 10U, for example, you could potentially reduce that entire space down to 3U just using FlashArray. And this is possible because of our compression and deduplication technologies, our advanced data services, and just how fantastic the engineering in our products really is.
Thank you for joining us today to learn more about our problems and solutions. If you want to learn more, visit us at purestorage.com.